this computer. There you go. Okay, so I'm just going to stop the sharing for one moment. So folks, if you don't mind muting your lines and go ahead. Okay, view, gallery, speaker. There you go. Okay, so we want to welcome you to this Go for Diamond call, Go for Diamond webinar this evening, still old habits with the word call. And this evening topic is a very important topic, and it's really more of an interactive Q&A session. And we've asked some of the field leadership, or some of the leaders or associates, I should say, within a group that we have called Canada USA to share some of their hurdles, Q&As, concerns and challenges that they might be facing in their businesses. And Tammy and I are going to be answering these questions, and in line to what was shared with us in the group that I'm going to be sharing with you. I'll be sharing my screen actually just about now. And at that point, also, what I will be doing is there's also a topic that I think is very important, depending on the time that we have to share. Where's my full screen view here? Full screen. Okay, it should be here somewhere. And oh, yeah. It's over here. Options, present. Voila. Okay, much better. So what Tammy and I are going to be doing here is we're going to be going through back and forth. And also what's very, very important is that you also take the liberty to post your questions. So for example, if you have any comments or any kind of add-on that you would like to add, maybe you didn't have a chance to post your question in the group, and as we're sharing, you might think that it might trigger another question that you never thought of, that you just realize, oh yes, I'm dealing with that all the time and I'd like to have the answer. Feel free to do that in real time. This call is recorded. It will be posted on the Active Team site. In a few minutes as we progress, I'll show you where to access the information and everything else. Tammy, you want to add a few words before we begin?
I'm ready for the questions.
Okay, perfect. Now, just before I continue, if you would just want to type in a Y representing yes, if you're able to see the screen, I want to make sure that you're able to see the Q&A and challenges. So just type in a yes, a Y to confirm. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, so and what I did is I went based on the last question that I just received, and I just kind of put them at the top. And so there's no preference in orders here. So I just went based on the order that I received, where the most recent happens to be the one at the top. And Tammy and I are going to be handling this here. And this is a really, really good question, Laura, is how to present prospect with the opportunity more so than the product, right? And I can really, really appreciate that question. And what question to ask them, always need a refresher on this plan. Perfect. Okay, Tammy, you want to start or you want me to start?
Yeah, I think it depends on who you're talking to. If it's somebody that has a health challenge, you want to be careful and not be jumping into an opportunity. So yeah, you have to feel out the connection that you're having with the person. So I tend to gear towards their desires and their interests. And with time, as you get really good, often you can, in conversation, you can get them to look at the opportunity. But like I mentioned, you really got to honor people and what they're looking for. So in conversation, they may tell you that they have some health concerns that they really like to take care of. That's when you go into, well, have you ever heard of the word glutathione? Right? And then let them know you're going to send them something. So don't be the message for people. You want to be the messenger and send them information. And don't just send people information and assume they've read it. Because often, especially if you do it by email, often it gets lost in junk mail. by the time you follow up with it, they didn't even get it. So I like to reconfirm when I send stuff to make sure that people let me know that they received it. I also either, if our connection is through Messenger or texting, however other way we're connecting, I let them know with a quick message that, hey, by the way, I just sent you the email with the link. And I'm looking forward to our follow-up chat tomorrow night, or whatever it is in conversation that we discuss. So Laura, that question it's really good, because people often, they don't listen to the prospect. They just have an agenda of where they want to go with a conversation. So it's critical to listen to what people are looking for.
So from my point of view here, Laura, and again, very good question, because I mean, that's the $1 million question here. And one of the reasons why we tend to, most people, especially as they're trying to build their business and less experience in network marketing, or having success in network marketing, because let's face it, some folks have been in network marketing for decades and they never got the results. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that they never lead towards the opportunity. And by default, we are all consumers, and people think like consumers. So it is kind of a normal reaction and a normal behavior to always lead, well, how much does it cost? And is your product working? Is your product good? And maybe being less experienced in dealing with the network marketing arena, often what happens is people will spend all their time sharing what they're comfortable sharing. And that's really what the issue is, Laura, generally, is people are not comfortable with the model. And it's not just network marketing. Often people are uncomfortable with the word money, with the association of money, asking for the money, right? And I don't know why we feel guilty, but we do. And often what happens is we tend to stay in that environment. So to go back to your comment is, what question to ask them is, once you kind of share your piece on the value of the product, we can go back on that, because I do have some objections that I would like to share with you, some elements that I think are important to talk about. But once I share the information on the product and the value of the products and the benefits that I see on the product, I will always add, would you see this also as a valuable, excuse me for my English here, Tammy, how do you, valuable,
yeah.
Okay, way of earning an income. Actually, I would use my own words. I would say, do you see an opportunity for you to earn an income with this? Do you see a demand? Right? And this is kind of how I would approach it. And don't worry about the outcome. And this is usually what happens. People are afraid of the rejection. What if they say no? And they're afraid of asking for the business. Because let's face it, people are skeptical, and for good reason. And I'll give you some examples, other examples a little later. But at the end of the day, the answer to your question is, there's nothing wrong about sharing the product and to begin with the products, because that's what people want anyway at the beginning, right? Most of people are not entrepreneurs, they're consumers, but it's just not to overlook the question of the opportunity in many ways, where the example there, do you see a way for you to earn an income sharing this information? Are you open to different stream of income? And then to go back to what Tammy shared is, let me send you a few videos for you to look at. And we are working on some new stuff, folks. And I'm telling you, it'll be awesome. But for the time being, we can't just wait for things to happen, where we have to move forward. So, I mean, the white shirt time for money, it's an approach, right? We still use it. And, but often, honestly, between you and I, use a third-party credibility of someone who's making money. Seriously, it's not hard to find, right? You're talking to them right now, right? So that is probably the best asset you could have, because we have the credibility of the reality of the income, and not just some income, but as we all know, has made a significant impact in our lives. So we can add this to the conversation to add the credibility on the worth of doing this kind of business. So I sorry for the long-winded answer here, but really, most of you are doing everything perfect, right? You're missing that last step of just asking the question if they're open to get some information in reference to the opportunity. Don't ask them permission. Is it okay for me to share with you and on the opportunity, or would you be okay for me to? Don't ask questions like that. Just share the information, right? You can always, you ask the question and ask for forgiveness later if they're not interested. That's totally cool. But again, to rephrase this, to make it simple, share the product, whatever you feel you want to share about the product, your experience, and then do you see this as an opportunity to earn an income? That's it. So at this point, and feel free to comment, Laura, if you feel that you want a bit more information in reference to the question, just go ahead and post a comment and we'll go ahead and share.
So I think in general, it's always best to talk to people you know when you're first starting, because you can easily connect with them. You know them, you know their families, they could be family members, they could be friends, they could be colleagues. It's so much easier to connect with people that you already know, because it becomes a normal conversation, right? If you're talking to a total stranger, then it takes time to build up that relationship and that connection. So if you're connecting with people through social media, I like to, and total strangers, I like to look through their profiles, see what they're posting, see what's important to them in their lives. And my questions will be based on things that I'm already seeing by checking them out. So I hope that helps. I mean, the FORM, family, occupation, recreation, and money. And some people say message, some people say money, but is ask questions that will trigger an emotional response as well. So think of that when you're connecting with somebody. So if I'm connecting with a total stranger and I'm looking at their platform and they happen to be totally into their family, I'm going to start a conversation with them about family. If I get a Zoom chat connection with them, and I'll ask them, are you working outside of your home? How's everything going with your family through these trialing times? And you get in conversation, another question will come up. If they say they're working outside of their home, just say, what do you do for a living? And make it very casual and connectable in the conversation. And people really appreciate that. You know what you're going to find out. And
Sorry about that. It's because I know we have a time frame and quite a bit of stuff. Would you be okay to continue with Jasmine's question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sorry for interrupting. So moving on to the next question with Jasmine, and the question here is actually very good too, is when someone new signs up as an associate, what do you suggest to focus on, to focus on Max? What do you suggest for your team member to stay focused on Max, right? Often people have desired for a better financial future. The health aspect of Max is a given, absolutely. And sorry, I got some things covering your text here. However, they seem to have so many other activities or business ideas that they aren't shooting for the Max target. And Jasmine, this is a very, very common situation dealing with people. Is I think one of the biggest problem that people have when they start any kind of projects is to stay focused. And I think one of the biggest problem we have in North America is there are so many deals, so many directions for people to go to. You could go around and if you don't stay focused on a target, that you've chosen, and you constantly get distracted by other deals out there and other different opportunities or other means to make money, what's going to happen is you keep diluting your time, your results, because you're unfocused. And this something, Jas, is there's no magic wand that can get someone to focus on maths. The best thing I can tell you, and I think you touched on this on the second point, is do you focus on their why? Do you keep them plugged in, trainings, calls? This is exactly the answer. Basically, your second portion, you were probably answering the question really, is you want to create culture within your leadership, within the people you bring in, by building the relationship, reinforcing the relationship, starting with their why, what's their goal, what do they want to achieve, and create a very strong foundation as to why they're involved into this business. And of course, because of this, the distractions out there and everything else out there, the poachers and everybody else coming around that are trying to get their attention, if they're not plugged in on a call, that's the reason why Tammy and I constantly do these Go for Diamond webinars, right? That there's 3 people or 60 people, or in some cases with different groups, we got 1,000. What happens is people tend to either get inspired, get motivated, something gets triggered, maybe by what someone's said or things like this, right? So Tammy, what are your thoughts on the subject?
Yeah, I think when somebody's brand new, is to get them plugged in, number one. I think a lot of people sign up and they're not plugged in. And that's the reason why they don't excel in our business model. Being connected, staying connected is critical in building a business. Connected to your leadership, getting guidance, working your strategy plan. Let's face it, every single one of us has a different schedule, a different lifestyle. You know, some of us have really young kids at home, some don't. Some, you know, have major careers, working a lot of hours outside of their home, and they get home and they're tired. So everybody has a different lifestyle. So I think what's really key is when you sign somebody up in this business, sit down and understand their lifestyle, first of all. Ask them how many hours are they willing to commit into their business, their max business, and give them the main things that they need to do to get this started, which are really the money making activities of start with your contact list, connect with people, see what they're up to, build some relationships, find out if they're looking to add on some extra income, find out if they're looking to increase their immune system, and from there is walk them through the tools, right? So if everybody's doing this, then a team is going to move into momentum. And often, very often, the leader is not focused. And if the leader is not focused in building their business and connecting with their team members, then there's no momentum. So we always have to ask ourselves every single day, am I being the leader in my organization? Am I actively doing what it takes to build this business and being the example for my organization? So often we have to look at the mirror and ask ourselves what we are doing, because if there's a team in momentum, guaranteed the leader is in momentum.
I totally agree. And moving on to the next point of Jasmine is, can you update us on the active team getting started training? Let me walk you through this. Tammy and I just did a training for a new team that we're starting to work with. And I think Olga was actually part of the call. We had a great time. And let me just kind of go on the website here. And what I recommend, if you have not done that yet, I really recommend you do so. And it's not just for you, but also your new associates. And I think one of the biggest problem I find is people don't plug in, and their downline don't plug in. And that is the number one reason why people tend to fall off, right? So this particular team website is designed to give you the right information and point you in the right direction to be able to help you get started. So here's the very first thing I recommend every single one of you to do if you have not done so already, is you go to subscribe. You click on that. It'll take you to the subscribe section and you simply put their name. Let me rephrase that. Get them to do it themselves. Don't do it for them.
Exactly.
If you do it for them, make sure they're aware that you are adding them to the database, right? I don't want people to complain that I never asked for these emails, things like this. And honestly, I haven't got that even one this year, right? Which is wonderful news. And trust me, there is 10 to 15 people a day that are coming in every day from different parts of the world. It's crazy. If you'd see the map where people come in, we're not even open in these markets. I don't even know how they know about us, but they do. But the fact here is that you simply register them. And the moment they do this, they will receive a welcome letter. In that welcome letter, and the case, let me just go to the documents section here, okay? I'll show you what they get as an attachment. So let me go to, for example, Canada, USA in this case, and you go to English, and you go under, I think it's under training, and I think it's new associate orientation, yeah. And they get this document here, the max associate, the new associate orientation, okay, they get that, and this. And if they're in Africa, then they also have links based on the different markets they're part of, okay? Now, what happens here is when they receive that, they will get this manual, and I'll talk about it in a minute, and it has all the details that an associate needs to know to get started, with the links, with all the calls, with everything they should, let me rephrase that, the webinars, all the webinars, that should be saying. Anyway, so what's happening here is all of this is there. So they can actually work the business and not necessarily depend on you. Okay, and that's really, really important. The moment you create this action of teaching them to connect, by default, they get the information. And there are some people that you just put a piano in front of them and they'll play. They'll know what to do. They'll click, they'll read, they'll do. And others, you have to grab them by the hand and you have to go step by step. Okay, so the fact is you have to know who you bring into the business. Don't just sign them up and plug them in and goodbye, good luck. It's not going to work for you, right? You do need to attend to people. But by default, if this is duplicated, it falls into the hand of an influencer, someone who tends to take matter into their own hand and they run with things. They have everything they need. But the fact here is the information here is there to support. For example, another thing is we have the videos, right? They should be aware of the video link. So when you click on the video, then you get information. Right now, this is a North American presentation, and it'll be more as we move forward. But the reason I kept this is because the US dollar is kind of neutral in all markets, and then it can just apply the conversion rate to understand how much money would be in our market. That's what really Max does. And then we have the training videos, right? For example, Tammy and I are redesigning this training right now. We're redoing it. And here's what's really interesting. It's not just going to be a webinar. It's going to be an actual video. Tammy and I are going to be standing in front of the camera with the slides. It's going to be very highly professional. And we're going to be doing every single one of them one by one. So what's really interesting is as they get connected and for example, if they click on this video and they choose to listen to it, right? And then from there, when you go to YouTube, you see a subscribe you see a subscribe button here. And I really recommend that you subscribe and get your team to subscribe. Right now we're at 981 subscribers, right? So we're basically 19 away to get 1,000 so we can have our own channel and start doing a lot of interesting things and featuring associates and everything else, right? So just kind of a little bit beside the point. But these are all things. The reason why you don't see it here is because it's my own account, right? So the fact is, all the information is there. These are the Go for Diamond webinars. That's the one that we did last week, if you recall. And that was the one prior to that, the one before this, and so forth, right? They're all here. So I see Dr. John had a wonderful call here. So, and then we have our CEO there live, right? So the information is there. So when you plug in and you get your team to plug in, I'm not kidding. These are the things that will help you solidify your organization, right? Tammy and I did a training a couple of days ago that we blasted out. It's over here under miscellaneous. If you haven't listened to that training, I really, really recommend you do. It's a really good training that Tammy has designed on their PowerPoint, and Tammy and I worked together in producing it by doing the video and so forth, right? So all the information is there. Okay, it's all, and the one thing that's also very important is if someone don't know the webinar room, the number, if they click on there, it'll take them in this room that you and I, that we're communicating on right now as we speak. And the calendar is something that's underused because the calendar, and this is going to fill up, folks. I'm not saying you got to go everywhere. What I'm saying is if you happen to have associates that want to listen to a presentation, you're not going to be around, you don't know when they're going to be available. You can send them the calendar and you can click on the one that they want. Again, just very quickly, if I click on, let's say this one here on Wednesday, right? You click on this one, you can register. Okay, it happens to be the one that I did here. Okay, so in this case, it's in 1 day, 23 hours, 1 minute. So there's a professional approach to it. They simply register, and that's it. Once they register, the software will tell them exactly first name, last name, register, and that's it. And it will remind them of the webinar. So it's very, very, very highly professional. Okay, so these are things that you really need to pass down through your organization. I cannot stress that enough. The other thing too is we have videos over here, right? Great videos, incredible culture. Often some of you are saying, you know what, I'd like to kind of brag a little bit of what Max has done with their diamond tours, and all the videos are here. These are the Perus in French and English and Spanish, right? So you can click on that. So this is just, and there's going to be more as we go. This is kind of like a BMW, this website. There's so much more that goes behind the scene, or even a Tesla, right? When you look at a Tesla, you see the nice screen and everything else, but behind the dash, folks, there's a lot of thinking, a lot of brain power going on there. So this is what's very important here, keeping in mind as someone gets started, right? You don't want to just make them feel that they have to sell products, they have to build a business. There's an environment of class for people to learn and evolve. And that's what's very, very, very important here. Okay. Tammy, is there anything else you want to add before we jump into Paul's comments?
The most important thing, there was many things that Chris mentioned, but it's to make sure that the moment you sign somebody up in the business, send them a quick message with the link to Active Team so that they go and subscribe. That's step number one.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's something that you want to get done. They get their welcome letter, they get their new associate orientation sheet, and you set up your first new associate orientation training with them. Or if you're somebody who just doesn't have a lot of time, you can always go to the Active Team, click on the link for the new associate orientation training video and send that to them and follow up to answer any questions. So it depends on how much time you have to spend with the people that you're bringing in. And I highly recommend to build really good, solid relationships with your team members.
This is critical. I cannot stress this enough. People often will stick around over and above the opportunity and the product because of the relationship. And the reality, folks, is you may save a lot of these folks because here's the reality. There are a lot of deals out there, and there's a lot of charlatans out there. And sorry for the French expression, but you know what I mean. Companies that they sell the big dream, but there's nothing behind the scene. And I know, what goes on behind the scene in many, many cases. And what I find so unfortunate is people pay the price. And often it's the people who don't have money who pays the price. And you keep jumping ship, thinking it's better somewhere else because that person sold them this deal and they're really good in selling the deal. But behind the deal, it's very hard to measure to what we have here. And I'm telling you, I've seen that over and over and over. The science and the income opportunity, the trips incentives. I have never seen a company in my career, and I'm not saying this, I know I may seem biased because we're Crown and we've been in Max. I've been before Mac, I've been around, I've looked around. I'm telling you, companies do not spend this kind of money on their associates, especially when you're a silver associate going to Costa Rica for a weekend. Companies don't do that, but Max does, because they believe that if they inspire you, not only you'll stick around, but it will solidify your dreams and what you're, for you to really want to live that life that they're getting you a taste of. They understand that. Many companies do not get that. That's mixed with a product, with science that is unparalleled, with a great income opportunities. Many of you know, Tammy and I, our sole income is Max International. And because of the Max International income, we're able to branch off and investments and do a lot of fun stuff. But that is what's feeding it is Max International. That is our bread and butter. And we want you to have the same thing. So going back to Paul, is many associates are looking for the fast money first and are impatient. And I completely agree, right? They don't give this business 2 to 5 years of serious commitment. It goes back to my point, is they constantly get distracted with the new shiny deal, where often it's not as attractive as it looks like once they get in, right? So go ahead.
Or they just don't treat it like a business. Lots of people, Chris, come into this business and they're basically consumers of the product. And that's one of Jasmine's questions. So how do we ignite these people? And I think, as we see the teams growing, trust me, we see everybody's teams and we see the teams growing. Those who are the most committed have the leadership that are the most committed. The way
True.
you come into this business is important. Most people come in this business with 2 products, one for their spouse and one for them. How are you supposed to build a business just being a consumer, right? So you got to think of it. You got to think of this. If you don't have inventory that you're going to be connecting with people and getting products in people's hands, you're really not taking this as serious as a business. We always have inventory. I constantly, as we see our inventory go down, I have more products. Why? Because I need inventory to build my business. And people want to try the product first, often. I mean, you can send them to the website and get them to click on to become a customer. You can do that, but it's always good to have product in hand, because sometimes somebody's going to stop by and pick something up. They're close by, it's not always somebody from a distance. And so anyways, if you're in business, you need inventory. It's like opening up a franchise and saying, well, I don't have the money to order anything to put in my store.
The best example, Tammy, is, hey, I got a McDonald's, and you know what? Before I order my fries, my salad, my hamburgers, I'm going to wait for my clients to come to my door. And when you come to my door and they place the orders, then I'll place my order to get my French fries in. It's as silly as that. But often this is how people come into this business. They get on auto ship.
Business before.
Yeah, they get on auto ship.
Mm-hmm.
They get some products, and there's nothing to give. You have no idea how many times Sammy and I have done calls and trainings with associates that honestly have absolutely no product, and they lost amazing prospects because they had nothing to provide. And then 6 months later, they're discouraged. Well, that's the answer, right? There's a time at Max that people were coming in with premier packs, $1,000 packages. I mean, it was nonstop.
They were serious in building it too.
And because of the financial commitment, people were committed.
Yeah.
Well, because now it's nickel and dimes, because honestly, we don't want to pressure folks. But at the end of the day, if you don't have inventory, you got nothing to work with. And that is probably the most common problem in markets, that there's no momentum. People don't invest into their businesses. And these are good products to invest in, right? So, and the point of the Paul here is it's also a numbers game. Let's face it, right? I mean, you know the history of Apple Corporation, Microsoft. I mean, we could name them all. Amazon, look at them today. They are massive companies. Did they went through their tough times and hurdles? Absolutely, they did. They stayed committed, understanding that it's also a numbers game. And eventually people will understand, they will catch the wave. But for that, you have to keep sharing. You have to keep communicating. And I think what happened, and for good reasons, right? We used to do business face to face, meeting people, coffee shop. Now, within less than 3 months, everybody's forced to do business from a distance. I mean, it takes time. And I understand that that's part of the equation. It takes time. People need to adjust. But
So when you're new, Chris, when somebody's new in this business, understand that not everybody is going to say yes to your business. That's why you need to go through the training platform that Chris was talking about, the success cycle. Understand how many times that you're going to connect with somebody, because it is a follow-up process. It's a relationship building business. So if you're getting one connection out of 10 that are looking at your business and join your business, then the goal is always to increase that number. How do you increase these numbers? By practicing, to become better, learn to connect better with people, learn to ask the right questions at the right time based on a conversation you have. Often people say, well, what kind of questions should I ask? It's in conversation that questions come up based on a conversation. So it's really hard to tell everybody what you should say.
Mm-hmm.
The key is to connect. So increase and better your numbers by practicing a lot and connecting with people.
I agree. And Roland has a question here, if you don't mind me, Roland, to read it out loud here. Do you sell the products to the prospects at a retail, or do you lend them the product and try? Well, at the end of the day, here's some of the things that you can do, Roland. If you're talking to a prospect that has absolutely no commitment at all, I find people tend to commit more on something that they will pay for. But here's something that you can also do. We have those weekly packages, right? Where we suggest 1 week of self-GVT and 3 days of ATP, 3 days of NQs. Let's use that as an example. One thing that you could say is, listen, if you like the product, right? If you like the product, I really recommend for you to order a month's supply. And when you order a month's supply, you're going to get a commission that's going to pay back, a portion of what the product costs. It's kind of like a campaign inventory, right? It's advertising in a matter of speaking. It falls into that category. Another thing you can do is just charge them the dollars, right? Charge them $30 US, because I know you're in New York. In Canada, charge them $40 Canadian or $35 Canadian, whatever you feel, or even charge 30 Canadian to absorb a little bit of the cost. There's not much difference there. But the point here, you can certainly do that, right? Or if they're willing to start the business, you say, here, let me advance you, try it. That they may never come back. That's true. That's the fact. But if they're serious, they say, well, when you get yours, just replace it, right? That's another thing that you can do, right? I know you use that as an example. So all of the above are fine. At the end of the day, you want these products to go in people's bellies, and you want to make sure that you follow up with them. That's the key. And never lose sight of the opportunity, and not just get stuck on the product, because you'll end up with a whole bunch of wonderful customers, but no money, right? So you want the distribution network to continue, and for that, they need to understand the opportunity. And I want to finish with that at the end. So that's why, Tammy, I want to go through this portion, because I have a portion at the bottom I want to share here with the team. But Tammy talked about the relationship, critical, right? We talked about sending people in and leaving it out to themselves to figure it all out. That's also a problem. And that's why sometimes they will leave within a month or 2 or 3 months, right? I think I mentioned that earlier. So that's, again, that's the problem, right? They're not attended to. And often when people start this business, they've never been in business. All they've done is buy stuff based on their salary they earn, and they're consumers. And that's the majority of people. They do not have I would say, the common sense of business. And sometimes common sense, I'll be honest, it's not always obvious. As I mentioned today on our post on WhatsApp, is sometimes we're living in very confusing times right now. So having some guidance, make sure that they sign up for the outgoing emails. All of that is going to help you. And the last point Paul has mentioned here, I completely agree, is the people that tend to listen to audiobooks or read books, they tend to build a lot more confidence and posture in building their businesses. I understand that we live in a fast-paced world. So I understand that sometimes people don't have the patience to read. Some will. So never dismiss the importance of that. But that's the reason why we have all these videos. And that's one of the reasons why Tammy and I are revisiting all of these videos that are going to make the information a lot more user-friendly.
And going back to taking your business serious, if you have a job and your boss asks you to read some documents because you're going to be, doing some work on whatever it is you're going to read, you're going to do it because your boss tells you to do it. In business, we're all independent, and you have the choice to do things or not do it. I think that's one of the biggest challenges that people have, is they don't take their business serious. You got to take your business serious. If you want to succeed in business, you got to learn what it takes to build a business. If you've never been in business before, don't make that an excuse to stay small. Find out what the business people are doing and learn the skills and apply them and practice. And you will become better. Every time you practice, you become better and better and better. You're not going to be perfect at the beginning. You're never going to be perfect, period. I'm not perfect. But I'm better than a lot of people when it comes to prospecting, because I've done it for so many years. I've got lots of experience under my belt to connect with people. And that is a life learning and learning from other leaders. What have they done? How can I apply this? Try this. And you got to be actively building. If you're not, you can never get into any type of momentum. It's not the industry that doesn't work. It's the person that's looking in the mirror every single day. You have to look in the mirror and say, have I done what it takes to get my business in momentum today? If it's yes, great, keep doing it. If it's no, what is it that's stopping you?
Okay, good point. Very good point, Tammy. That's absolutely correct. And I know, Lutz, you have a question. I'll come back to it in a minute. I think what's really important here, and we're going to be designing a training on that topic. And I think it's very important. You see, challenge hurdles can be really summarized to handling objections. Really, that's what it's all about. And what are question and objections? Well, seeking clarification, right? Trying to understand. Sometimes people, they just want to sound smart. I mean, it's okay. It's totally fine, right? There's limited belief, right? Sometimes it's a reflex. It's a default. They have absolutely no idea. And these are things, and the key is don't walk away thinking that you've been defeated because they're asking, oh my God, is that one of those pyramids or things like that? Seek to understand their concerns, because often people have no idea the meaning of a pyramid other than a pyramid in Egypt. Really, it's that sometimes ignorant, and what it is it's really to learn how to educate our prospect, and this is how successful networkers are. Is they tend to really spend time in educating their prospects, right? So one of the things, I'm just going to skip through a few things here. And one of the things that I shared today, and I will post that on the comment section of the this video once it's uploaded on YouTube. And I really recommend you click on this link and you listen to Tim Sells, right? I'm just going to put it here for your own sake, for you here, so you can all have it there. And it's a really, really, really good video. Now, Tim Sells, it's kind of like, it's not formal. It's kind of him sharing with the audience based on some people's belief, right? Based on their limited understanding or negative people and things like that. And it's really interesting because this kind of information will help you. I need some water. Will help you deal with the mindset that sometimes could play against you when you're trying to deal with different kind of objections, right? And that is a training on its own. And I prepared that for you tonight because at the beginning, there was not a lot of comments. And once the comment came in, I want to make sure that we respected that first. But there's a whole training section here that we want to talk about on handling objections, right? One of the things is belief, right? Lack belief is the powerful universal objection. That's really what it is lack belief in the MLM industry. This is huge, right? Lack belief in your company, the pay plan, the product. And what I found, if you look at the pay plan, what I found is 99%, well, let me be more conservative, 90%, I won't go below that, 90% of the people did not understand it. They made a decision based on someone else's feedback that also did not understand it. That is reality. Once you start getting that and really understanding people, you become a lot more powerful to deal with the objections that people have, knowing that they really don't know much. They bark loud, but they don't know much. And I'm not saying not to be disrespectful. I'm saying not to be respectful to you and your time, understanding how to handle these kind of objections, right? Belief is absolutely key, right? Any comments on that, Tammy? Because I know that we're getting. I like to finish at 9:45. It's 8:49. What are your thoughts as we end this here?
I think to add a lot of stories into your connection with people, people are emotional. So, when you share a story, there's emotion in the story of what this opportunity has done for you or somebody else. You can even use somebody else's story. And I highly recommend if you use somebody's story, make sure that you can get a three-way call lined up with them so that they can verify and tell that story, whether it's a product story or a business story. It's always nice to know that you got somebody, that you can connect with. So just build this business from your heart. Really, so many people get emotionally attached to the outcome. They get emotionally attached to the no's. Don't take anything personally. Their stuff is not your stuff. And if it's not the timing for them, it's okay. I mean, you don't want to force or convince anybody to join a business if they're not ready to do it, because they're going to be in and out. They're going to be out just as fast as they joined. And it's a waste of time for you. So look for people who really want something better in their lives, more meaning, better health, to make extra money. I mean, people are looking, trust me, they're looking. It's just connect with them. If you don't set up those Zoom chats and connect with them, people are missing that emotional connection right now. So try and stay away from the calls. Start connecting with people on a Zoom chat where you can actually see them. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's a people business.
And Tammy touched on it right here, is relate to the prospect. Ask for clarity. Ask them to expand on their concerns. Get into a conversation to really get to know what's the core reason for them to say what they're saying, right? That listening attentively is critical, right? What are they really saying? It's interesting, but that's exactly what I was telling you earlier. What are they really saying? Because often they don't know. They're just repeating based on what someone else has said. They're feel, found, right? And another thing I want to move down to a little bit is dealing with objections that people may have. You know, what's the difference about this supplement? Well, it's good to have a basic understanding of your products. I know some of you are new here. It's important to have a basic understanding on your product, right? They don't like networking. They can't do networking. That's the reason why I referenced this video over here, right? It's really going to help you educate yourself on how to answer these kind of questions by bringing you a context for you to feel confident on what you're trying to tell them about why they should get involved in network marketing. Seriously, right? So we'll do a training on this because it's a very, very, very good topic. And I think that handling objections, we can never get enough training on this. Now, just for the sake of Luz's question, let me go back to the website here, Luz. When you're going to the calendar here, and if you're having some issues, let's have a session together so we can clarify that. But at the end of the day, when you click on the calendar, really the links are here. So when you click on this particular segment here of the webinar section, the links are here. So you can click on, or you can right click, right? And you can copy the link, and you can also paste it on, right on your address bar. It's really that simple, and it's right there. Okay, and so I'm not sure what you mean by it's taking you somewhere else, but we can always work on that a little later and figure this out together. But it's really all I can tell you at this moment. But it's designed to be that simple, right? So I think in closing here, what's really important here, everybody, is stay the course, right? No, Mary Paul, you said it is not working. Chris, it is asking me to open your calendar. Okay, so we'll have to figure this one out. Okay, so I don't know what the problem is right now, so we'll figure this out. So Luz, let's chat together, and Mary Paul, and I'll figure out what the problem is when it gets to the calendar. But what's really important here, folks, is stay the course. Don't deviate from the trajectory, from the goal that you have set for yourself. I'm telling you, this vehicle is a good one. And you need to give yourself the time to evolve and learn. And you need to go through hurdles. It is just the way the world works. I'd love to tell you, hey, if you do this, you're going to get it right away within a month. I'd love to say that. But the real world is we need to evolve. We need to learn. And often if there's challenges, it's because there are some things that you need to work on your approach and your confidence, on your belief. I'm telling you, it's one of those things. And the best way for you to get better is to keep trying. And if you feel uncomfortable based on someone's response, that's why the upline leaders are here to help you process maybe the negativity that might occur by getting these kind of responses, so we can help you how to deal with the emotion that you may be going through. That's what, remember, Tammy and I have been there. I never forgot at the time when we were lifting our phone. If you remember, some of you with rotary, what do you call it? Dial, right? And I mean, it was hard to make these phone calls, right? In fear of rejection. I still remember. Today, it's a complete different situation because I understand that 99% of the time, they don't have a clue. It's my job to educate them. And that gives me a sense of, if you want to say power, that gives me the courage at the time. Now it's an afterthought, right? So stay the course and evolve. It's worth it. Absolutely worth it. Tammy and I are going to Florida on December 3rd in our beautiful place. And again, I'm not trying to brag. I'm trying to impress upon you that all of this is possible because we stuck it through. And if things are not working for you, don't blame the company. Don't blame the upline. Don't expect your upline. What have you done for me lately? What's on my left team? What's on my right team? Hey, nobody's doing anything on the left side. Take responsibility for your business and build your business. You got 2 teams to build. If you're fortunate, where one team has grown to a point where you've been able to cash in for years and it's not there anymore, well, it's a wake-up call to build the downline, build your other side, right? We each own our business, left side, right side. And we share. People need this information right now. They really, really do. So don't let the COVID-19 negativity kind of, corrupt your dreams and future. Just find ways to communicate that there's many of them. Now, in reference to the calendar link, I apologize if there are challenges. I'm going to find out what the problems are and we'll dig through it. Okay. So Tammy, you want to say a few words and we'll end on this note?
Don't just learn and sit and, get on these Monday sessions or watch a video. Go out and apply it. That's the only way you're going to grow in this business is by taking action and really getting in the field and connecting with people. When Chris was talking about the phone, I remember when we were new building this business, I hated talking on the phone. I don't know about you, but I couldn't stand it. I love Zoom chats. Learn the Zoom platform. Trust me, I'm not a computer person. If I can learn this stuff by going to YouTube and figuring out how to set up, a free account, book my first meeting with somebody, send them the invite through an email, they get on, you get on, now you're connected. It's a different energy when you can see each other. It's much easier. And if you don't try and you don't practice and doing this, then you'll never be able to build a business. So I highly recommend to learn some things because this is the way of the future. And you really need to adjust in building your businesses.
I completely agree. So on this note, folks, we want to thank you for taking the time. The call is recorded and it'll be posted on the activeteam.com under the video section, as I pointed earlier. And again, I'll figure out what the situation is with the calendar. I didn't realize it was a challenge there. So everybody, thank you so much for attending. Please unmute yourselves and let's show your beautiful faces so we can say hello to you or goodbye to you. Hello, Paul. And again, I want to thank everybody for taking the time. You guys are absolutely awesome. So have a great night, everybody. Hey, Linda, how are you?
Hey, good.
Oh,
Thank
there's
you,
Linda.
Chris and Tammy.
Hey, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Hi.
Great call, guys. Great call.
Yay.
Great call.
Thank
Hey,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Janet, hi Brian.
Hey, Jen, Brian.
Hi Jasmine.
Nice to see you.
Paul.
That's how we realize we miss everybody.
I
You
know.
Hey,
guys-
Linda Bell, how are you
I'm
doing?
looking at one